Time for a quickie with Hard Rooster. Alright, what we're going to talk about today is UV unwrapping your UVs for car body in automation using Blender 2.8. You can see I've got a unwrapped UV right here, and that comes off of this car body right here. So let's jump right in. So let's rewind a little bit in time to the point where we were before we triangulated the car. If you try to do your UV unwraps after you triangulate your car, selecting parts of the mesh becomes a bit troublesome. So let's avoid that and get to unwrapping this car. So the first thing I've done is I've selected and highlighted all of my bounds boxes because we don't unwrap those. So I've got them there, and I'm just going to hit H to hide them. Now I'm just left with the car and the underbodies, and the underbodies are and should be separate elements like so. I'm just going to kind of move these around just to show you that these should be disconnected portions of the car, and they should overlap perfectly right here with your lip. And they have to be separated because if they were connected, you would have three faces joining at the same edge, and the UVs would not unwrap worth a crap. And so we don't want to do that. So first, we're going to end up unwrapping these later, but I want to hide them right now. So now we're just left with the car. And I'm going to select all of the mesh, and I'm going to hit U, and then you can just click up here, or you can hit U a second time, and you'll get your UV unwrap accomplished. So I'm just going to drag open this second window that I made. That gets me to my UV. The shortcut for that is Shift F10, and I think you would have to do it twice, or you can just come up here and find the UV editor right there. So the first thing we're going to do is get this cursor centered up. And so we can hit the N hotkey, or we can just hit this arrow here, which will open up this side panel window. And I'm going to type in manually 0.5 in the X and 0.5 on the Y cursor locations, and I'll hit N to hide that panel again. That gets our cursor right in the middle of the screen. Next thing I want to do is I want to grab the center line of my UV mesh just like this. I'm going to ignore the rest of the mesh for now. And I'm going to rotate this until it is aligned in this manner. So to make sure that it's perfectly flat this way, I'm going to hit S, Y, 0. Enter. And that will make sure that it's perfectly flat along the x-axis. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on the menu. I'm going to come up here to Snap, and I'm going to do Snap Selected to Cursor Offset, like so. And that's going to make our UVs look terrible! Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it yet. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it just on the x-axis, like so. And I just want to tuck it in just a tiny bit. But just in case I end up with any overlapping, I've got some room to work with. I'm going to bring it in just 10 centimeters like that. Next thing I'm going to do is you can right click and hit the pin button, or you can just hit the P hotkey, and that will pin this line, just like that. So let me open this window back up. Let's get back in here. And I'm going to unhide everything, and I'm going to reselect all of my little bounds boxes and whatnot, and I can do that with the materials if I need to. Lower bounds, select, cabin bounds, select, cargo bounds, select, however you need to do it to make sure you selected all of the bounds boxes, and we will hide those. Now we will have our underbodies, and we're going to do our unwrap now with the underbodies. So let's select everything, hit U and unwrap again, give it a minute to think about it. And now we'll open everything up, and we will see that we have a nice straightened out flat UV, and we have our 4 underbody elements. And what we need to do is figure out what belongs to what. So let me just kind of make this a half and half screen. Zoom out a little bit, something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here, we're going to make sure that these little buttons are ticked. If this is not ticked, we won't see our UV. So I want to tick that up. I want to make sure that I can see my UV. Now, the next quirk is if I try to island select, I get a little error. You have to actually be in face mode to island select an island. So, I mean, that's fine. It's no big deal, right? So let me just kind of look under the car, and I'm going to find out, okay, that island belongs to the rear of the car. And I can look at the UV mesh, and I can work out that this is the rear of the car. So I'm going to move this temporarily over here, maybe give it a scale until this is about as wide as it should be, because this is basically it's part of the car. And I'm just going to kind of move it until it makes a little bit of sense. Now we're going to grab our next one, and that's obviously the front. So let's move it out towards the front. You can see that a little better. Give it a little bit of a scale until it's making some more sense. And we can just kind of like get it into position and make sure it's about centered. And we're going to do the same thing for each of these islands here. So this one belongs to, looks like the left side of the car. Yep, that's the left side of the car. So if this is the back and this is the front, this would be the left. So I'm going to rotate it like so. And you don't have to be super precise here. And we're going to move it down here. And we're going to scale it about like this. Kind of get it into position. Maybe scale it a touch more. Just kind of line it up with this lower lip here. And we're going to do the same thing right here. So I'm going to rotate it this way. Get it kind of into position. And scale it. And, get it maybe a little, ooh. Maybe move it a little bit more into position. Maybe scale it a little bit more. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to smash these flat. So I want to take this, and I just want to do something like S, Y, and 0, and that'll smash that one flat. Let's select this island, and I'm going to S, Y, 0. That will scale Y on the 0 axis, and we'll smash that one flat. And since these are oriented in the other direction, we're going to do SX0 and scale those and smash them flat on the X-axis. And let's do the same thing here, SX0, and that is smashed flat as well. Okay, so let's start getting these lined up. Let me just zoom in to, let's pick the front of the car to start with. Zoom in, and we can go back into vertex select mode. We can either click that button or hit 1 on the hotkeys. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enable snapping, which is up here, so it's a little magnet looking guy, and make sure that it's on vertex. So now all I do is I grab this part, we've already smashed it, and I'm just going to move it. I'm going to hit G, and it will automatically kind of snap into the appropriate locations. And what we want to snap this to is not this part of the lip, but we want to do it where the lip meets the body, right here. Okay, that's where we want to put that. Snap it right there, and we're just going to kind of work down the line and snap these guys all along that line, about like so. And as we get towards the edge, you're going to see some interesting little like triple line stuff happening. And I'll show you what to do with that once we get there. And there, so there we are. We have 2 lines. So what we have to do is basically smash these together. So what we can do is we can just weld them, just like that. And we'll snap it like that. Let's highlight those, right-click, weld. Do that. Highlight those, right-click, weld. Snap them over. Highlight those, right-click, weld. Snap them over. Highlight these guys, right-click, weld. Snap them over. Highlight these guys, right-click, weld, and snap them over. And we're going to go around the entire car body, and we're going to do this with each one of these all the way around. This is only going to, it's a little bit fiddly. Really only takes 5 to 8 minutes to do this. So let's get going. All right, so when we get to the side, we're just going to kind of do the similar idea. We're going to make sure that we go along the line where the lip meets the bottom of the body. And it's okay if the vertices are not totally smashed together. You're going to see that these ones they're really tight and close together. They're not totally welded. It's okay, as long as they're really close together, it's going to turn out just fine. I've started from here because this is a good way to figure out. Let's go back to the top. It's a good way to figure out where you are by picking something that stands out. So this quad right here is large, and it fits up with this quad right here, so that's a good place to begin snapping. Now you may find that your underbody wants to kind of quit a little bit early. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and weld together. Whenever you get these little triples or quadruples or whatever, just weld them together and keep on going. If you end up finishing around here instead of way out here where you expect to, it's fine. It'll still work just fine. All right. Alright, only one more step to go. All we have to do is come over here to our Object Data tab, which is these little triangle guys, and we're going to find the UV Maps box, and you're going to see your UV map that you made. All you got to do is make another one by hitting this little plus guy right over here, and you'll get your second UV map, and that is it. Alright, well that was your Hard Rooster Quickie for the day. If you were satisfied, go ahead and like and subscribe below. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.